Hi guys, let's get into a reading. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscribes, and to those of you who have booked a personal reading with me, please keep in mind that these are general messages, so do not take them personally. Take the messages that resonate and leave the rest behind. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can find that information in the description box below. Let's get into it. What message do you have for the collective at this time? Help me to articulate a clear and concise message in order for it to be received in the way that you want it to best be received. Help me to see what it is that I need to see to get the message across as clear as possible. And help me to deliver any message that you deem worthy in order to serve your highest good, for the highest good of humanity with harm to none. What messages do you have for the collective at this time? What messages do you have for the collective at this time? Give me one more. So you have love, perseverance, courage, and I also saw grief. So I'm going to acknowledge it. And then there's blame at the bottom of the deck. So what I'm getting here is the energy of grace, right? I feel a strong sense of patience. I feel a strong sense of forgiveness. I feel a strong sense of openness and acceptance and willingness of challenges. But I'm also feeling like some guilt and some shame. So it could be that you are someone who has experienced quite a few things in your life up until this point where you have learned to not blame yourself, not blame the circumstances, not blame the lessons that you have learned, right? But you've learned to overcome them with grace, right? You've learned to accept them as lessons, and you've learned to incorporate those lessons into the integrity of who you are, right? Not taking ownership for the projections that other people have placed on you, but taking ownership for how you receive and move through those lessons and challenges in life, right? You've really learned to accept yourself. You've learned to love yourself. You've learned to forgive yourself. But there's, again, I saw the grief card. So there's also a part of yourself that may be mourning the parts of yourself, maybe the innocence of yourself, maybe the parts of yourself where you felt like you were overgiving in situations, right? That learning to accept those things also comes with a frequency of grief sometimes, because you can sometimes experience a sense of shame for allowing yourself to stay in a situation for longer than you may have been willing to, or maybe have been aware of in that moment, right? Because in that moment, you may have felt like you were just being you, right? You are a loving person. You're someone who gives. You're someone who accepts. You're someone who loves, right? Who provides confidence and strength, not only to yourself, but to others around you. But you may not have always been in situations where that energy was received well, where those parts of yourself were accepted as wholly as you are, right? And you may have felt taken advantage of in some instances, but you may not have realized you were being taken advantage of while you were in those moments. And so a part of you is kind of grieving just the mindset or perspective of the fact that you may have overstayed your welcome in positions where you were being taken advantage of. But that's nothing to feel shame or grief about, right? Because it only speaks to your character within how much bandwidth you have the ability to give, right? How much bandwidth you have the ability to share, how much openness you have, how much forgiveness you operate in, right? But also the fact that maybe in those moments you felt well enough to give until you didn't, right? It's almost as if like, okay, I feel well enough to keep offering, to keep giving. And then the moment that you realize that you are being taken advantage of, or that people were taking your kindness for a weakness, or that people were um, challenging you, or taking more than what they were giving, or just not handling you in the way that you handle yourself, right? They may not have been as trustworthy to you as you were to them. They may not have been accepting of you as you were to them. And the moment that you realize that, you cut it off, right? So that's nothing to feel shame about, because you had the bandwidth to give in those moments until you didn't. And that's the moment that you cut it off. So it's okay to feel, to mourn, to grieve, but don't sit in that, right? Because again, you have learned from those lessons, right? And you have learned from that space of taking or giving more than what you receive. But also, again, give yourself enough grace to accept the fact that you were just being who you are, and how other people receive it is not your responsibility. Clarify love. It's only your responsibility to take care of you. And if that means removing yourself from spaces where you're not being accepted fully, then so be it, right? Clarify love. Nine of Wands. Yeah, so you may have, again, there may be this boundary or this false sense of security that you have placed around yourself and the High Priestess. So this seems very tied to the previous reading. So definitely check that out if you have not seen it. But there's a sense of this false security that you have placed around yourself, and around your subconscious, right? Where it's almost as if like you feel that if you suppress who you are, meaning your knowledge, your wisdom, your grace, all of the abundant and wealthy things about yourself, there's this space of like, if like you feeling like if you suppress those things, that you're protecting yourself. You're creating this boundary of what it is that you have to offer, which in a sense means that you're cutting yourself off from the complete being that you are, right? You don't have to hide yourself. You don't have to make yourself smaller. You don't have to pretend to not know as much as you do. You don't have to pretend to not be as perceptive or as aware or to have as much wisdom as you do, just to make others in the room feel less intimidated, right? Or less worthy or less valuable, right? Who you are has nothing to do with who other people are and how they present themselves. What you have to offer is what God bestowed upon your life, right? That's the anointing that was placed on you. And you have a right and an expectation to walk and to live in all that was placed upon you, right? The duality of who you are, the forefront of who you are, and the subconscious part of who you are that you suppress, right? The light and the dark, right? The things that you perceive and the things that you are learning, right? It's almost as if like you you offer, I don't want to say you offer much less than what it is that you have to give, but because you may have felt taken advantage of, it seems as if, again, you have put up this false sense of security so that you block yourself off from your blessings in a sense, right? Because what dwells in your subconscious is the very thing that creates the wealth that you desire and deserve, right? It creates opportunities. It creates a success. It's a part of the foundation of who you are and you're building, right? And what you're building. This is not something that you have just woke up one day and decide to choose a new pair of shoes to walk in, right? No, this is a part of your DNA. This is a part of your energetic imprint, right? You can't walk away from it. So suppressing it is only diminishing it, right? It's almost as if like you're putting out your own fire, blaming yourself for all of the wealth that is being bestowed upon you. And please keep in mind here that when we speak of wealth and abundance, we are speaking of much more currency that exists outside of money. Money included, finances are included in that, but it is not the main or the wealthiest source of abundance, right? Clarify perseverance. The Knight of Wands. You have the Tower and the Seven of Cups, but the Seven of Cups came out sideways. So yeah, it again, the Seven of Wands, it's almost as if like you have fought to keep this flame open, right? You have worked to heal certain aspects of yourself, or like peel away parts of yourself or parts of your identity that were placed upon you but weren't a part of who you really were or what you truly identify as. And in doing that, you have demolished this foundation that, or this, like, how can I put this into words? This identity that other people placed on you, right? And you started to almost like feed this fire. But it also created this sense of, it's almost as if like through this perseverance, through this like releasing, the shedding, but also like inclusion and incorporation of who you weren't and what people placed on you and the ideas of who you are, the gossip and all that things, you release yourself from those aspects. But you also worked hard to integrate the true integrity of who you are. And within that, it's almost as if like you were in this place of illusion where you were, clarify the Seven of Cups, because it almost as if like you may struggle. Yeah, the Hierophant and the Queen of Pentacles. It's almost as if like you may struggle with truly accepting the power that you have and the opportunities that you have the ability to create, right? Be mindful not to betray yourself by denying yourself of the power that you have, right? We have the Hierophant and the High Priestess, right? Two leaders of the physical and the spiritual world, right? So the fact that you have this power, this internal knowing, right? It's the subconscious. You have this wisdom, this knowledge, this awareness, this perspective of the spiritual realm. You may have many spiritual gifts, right? You may be able to create opportunities from your spiritual wealth, right? That manifest into the physical, right? But the lessons that you and the observation, because the high priestess is not someone who speaks unless she truly has something to say, right? It's not, the high priestess is not somebody who indulges in meaningless, surface conversation, right? Or surface ideas, right? Everything that she indulges in has come from observation. It's come from learning. It's come from an abundance of resources and research, right? It comes from the true depth and understanding of the spiritual world, having a true connection to that spiritual world, right? To the subconscious. So you have the ability to create opportunities in the physical world, right? That, in a sense, manifests through your teachings physically, right? Through your leadership physically, right? And being in a place of leadership does not mean that you have control. It means that you have the ability to guide, to lead, but also to surrender to new lessons and to new ways of existence, right? To new ways of learning, right? Because you have a commitment to growth. A commitment to leadership is a commitment to growth. It's a commitment to understanding, right? It's a commitment to having open perspective, right? It's a commitment to expanding your resources, expanding your reality, expanding your teachings, expanding your learnings, right? Through collaboration with other beings, other resources, other people, through relationships, through opportunities, right? Through connection. And so you may be in a space where you are coming out of this place of, what I'm getting is imposter syndrome is what just came through, right? So accepting who you are and not diminishing the power that you have to transform not only your life but other lives, right? Be accepting of the opportunities that you have the ability to create, right? Be accepting of the resources that are available to you through multiple sources of currency. You have the ability to create new life instantly, right? So don't betray yourself by pretending not to be, or pretending or choosing not to live in the existence of who you truly are and the power that you truly hold, right? Clarify courage. This is about your confidence. This is about your strength, right? The world and your ability to change is part of your purpose. These are two very strong cards that speak to your strength, right? These are also cards that speak to the spiritual realm, right? You have the ability to create shifts, to create transformations, to create new cycles, to create new life through listening, through using your discernment, through using your perspective, through speaking life, through creating life, right? With the Fool at the bottom of the deck, also a very powerful card that speaks to the spiritual realm, right? You're not afraid to take risks. You're not afraid to accept new challenges, right? You're not afraid to learn new skills. You're not afraid to take a new journey, explore a new path, right? Not all who wander are lost, right? And that's kind of what this energy is giving. Like, you don't have to always exist in your power, but you never have to diminish it either, right? You can hold that power, but it doesn't always have to be on the forefront and the controlling or driving factor of your life. Sometimes you can surrender, or sometimes you have to surrender to what is being brought to you, what is being shown to you by the universe, by God, by your ancestors, by your spirit guides, right? Sometimes you will be challenged to take a new risk, right? But you must remain loyal to yourself and those who protect you in those spaces, right? There's a sense of clarity, though, a sense of warmth, a sense of understanding that your confidence, your strength, your power lies in transformation. Your purpose on this earth lies in creating new devices, creating new visions, creating new perspective, creating new opportunities, creating new cycles. You are creating a shift in the world, right? answering to the calling of God, to serve the purpose that you were sent here to pursue. Again, one that provides clarity, one that shows your wisdom, one that shows your proof, your discernment, and your ability to create shifts and new cycles and to create habits and opportunities that only continue to give and provide to you and for you, right? Let's pull 4 cards to close this message out. 1 card for what we can learn as the major lessons surrounding this message. 1 card for what we can, the opportunities we can create surrounding this message. 1 card for what we can meditate on as the focus surrounding this message. And 1 card for the new cycles and habits we can innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion surrounding this message. 1 card for what we can create. 1 card for what we can learn. I'm sorry. 1 card for what we can learn. Forgiveness and saint. Forgiveness for who you were. Forgiveness for who you allowed yourself to be in a space, again, where you felt like you were being taken advantage of. Forgiveness for taking advice or listening to perspectives that weren't a part of the true guidance that you're meant to follow, right? But they were misjudgment, they were challenges, they were ill feelings, ill wishes towards you, towards your purpose, towards your journey, towards what it is that you were meant to create, towards your character, right? Forgive yourself for existing or overstaying your welcome in spaces where you were only meant to serve your purpose and move on, right? Even if you felt connected to those spaces, to those people, to those opportunities, forgive yourself for overstaying your welcome and for giving more than you were meant to receive in those spaces, right? 1 card for the opportunities we can create surrounding this message. Fear and joy. This is more so like creating that drive, because you need a little bit of fear, right? Because if your dreams are not, if you're not a little bit afraid of your dreams and you're not dreaming big enough, right? Every risk comes with like a little bit of fear, right? Which is where that you need fear to drive your courage, right? You need a little bit of fear to overcome, right? To exist in your courage, right? To experience that freedom and release yourself from the things that you are holding on to that are keeping you stuck, that are keeping you small, right? So create opportunities in spaces where you accept challenges because they bring you growth, right? You accept new risk because they create new opportunities and new avenues and new experience and new pathways on your purpose and in your journey, right? 1 card for what we can meditate on as the focus of this message. Wise man, the hermit. And we've got healer here with seer. So meditate. The seer is giving meditation in general, like open yourself up to be willing to receive clarity within the visions that you're trying to create, right? Meditate on, again, the wise man is also kind of given that high priestess energy, like you have all of this wisdom, you have all of this knowledge, right? So meditate on how to maybe structure that, how to use that to not necessarily heal, because again, it's not our responsibility to heal others, but by healing ourselves, other people in effect will be touched just by that example. Other people will be inspired just by that example, by knowing or having the physical visual that it is possible, right? You can offer the tools. You can offer the lessons, you can offer the perspective, you can offer the visions, you can offer the medicine, but it's up to the community that you touch to receive it in the way that's beneficial for them, to see it in a way, to discern what's beneficial and helpful to them, right? And what new cycles and habits can we innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion surrounding this message? Empress, new life, an adventurer. This is giving the full energy, right? So this is, we're creating new life, right? You're innovating new spaces for you to explore new aspects of yourself, new aspects of your world, new aspects of the possibilities that you have the ability to create, right? There's so much more for you to explore, so much more for you to learn, so much more for you to experience, right? So again, release yourself from cloaking yourself. Exist in who you truly are. Exist in your discernment and your ability to create new opportunities. Have strength and confidence that you don't have to, again, make yourself small to feel comfortable in spaces where other people feel less valuable or insecure or intimidated by the power that you carry, right? That's not your responsibility to make other people feel comfortable in themselves. And it's not your responsibility to accept them trying to place their insecurities on you, right? But that is the message that I have for you guys. I hope that it resonates. I know that if you made it to the end of this video, you have found something in it that is worthy and valuable to you. Thank you for watching. Bye.